Man, welcome back to the vlog, the HN vlog. Today's it's gonna be a Pan-African vlog time. I even put my shirt. Well, it's flipped on this one, Africa. But anyway, I want to talk about very important topic today, man. It's a serious topic. It's something that's been heavy on my chest. I do small, stories around it, but it's really something that really we need to address at all levels of our society. How to democratize access to funding for African entrepreneurs. And I'm going to explain why is it important. First of all, we all know what we're going through right now, right? With all the social, environmental, economic challenges that the world is facing, especially Africa, there is a need for an African, I don't want to say a revolution because there's innovation all, but there's a need for us to come together to solve our own problem. And it's extremely important. We need to find a way to democratize access to funding. We need to find a way to access funding on a local level, regional level, or among our communities. It's extremely important. The idea of raising funds outside the continent, which is what's happening now, if you look carefully, anybody raising $1 million plus is raising outside the continent. The majority. Not all, but the majority. You see some fund like Future Africa doing a fantastic job in Nigeria, and some other fund in Egypt and all that able to raise locally. But on a majority of entrepreneurs are setting up structure in the US, in Europe, so on and so forth, to raise that kind of money. That's not sustainable. And that's not addressing everybody else, right? People like me, who's been lucky enough to study in the US, can go there anytime, has a decent network, I can benefit from that. But for the guy who studied here locally, never went outside the continent, who don't have that access, what he or she supposed to do? Supposed to sit and just pray, asking God for help? Yet he can have an idea that can be a game changer for the continent. Forget about the country, for the continent. And that's what's happening today. And then if you look at all the different sector of renewable energy, fintech, hard tech, health tech, and all, if you combine all and you look carefully, it's mostly foreigners that are raising the most money. And a lot of people will tell me, well, they're coming here and put money in the country. They're taking risk and all those things. Absolutely. I'm not questioning that. I'm not saying we should close down the economy, our borders and all. That's not what I'm saying. But we need to have a more innovative strategy. Be conscious that on the productivity side, on the resource side, Africa is not there. Or at least Africans, young Africa, we're not there yet. So are we going to open our ecosystem to the world where we're not prepared to compete with the world? It doesn't make sense. When you study carefully China, when you study carefully South Korea development, when you study even carefully the US development cycle, in the beginning, whoever was at the top before them, they closed certain key market or certain key sector to develop local capacity. And when they got to a certain level where they were competitive, they opened those ecosystems. It's one-on-one, man. I'm not making this up. You can research yourself. But in Africa, it's the only continent that is open to everybody. Yet locally, we're not prepared to compete. So when somebody comes with more money, more resources, they're able to dominate the market much easier. And that's number one. Number two, we are minimizing the impact those foreign companies have into the local psyche of the youth. I see on my comment all the time on different social media platforms. When I make some comment about why we're not there, why we don't see African companies, and you always see somebody say, we're not there yet. We don't have that capability, capacity to do those things, so we have to let somebody else to teach us, show us, which they never do anyway, because that's the IP. And that's the impact that we minimize it. How it transcends into people's mindset, especially the youth. When a young man or woman see a bunch of company coming from outside in different sector dominated, I'm telling you, they start believing maybe we're not capable to do it for ourselves. Maybe there's a reason why they should be coming here. You know, how that young man and a woman should be motivated to compete with those guys. And what support do they get from our government or from the structure in place? Because if the government is giving red carpet treatment to those guys and we getting the wrong side of the stick, we dead in the water. So all that has a huge impact to the future generation. And very few, we don't talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. Some people don't want to talk about it because they don't want to upset, the powers to be, or they don't want to have scare foreign investors and all those things. But we're not looking at the long-term vision. We're not looking at the long-term picture. Because guess what? I'll give you a scenario, which is most of those companies. They come, they spend $30 million, let's say $10 million in whatever sector. They bring their expertise yet. The key management, it's all foreigners usually. A lot of time the key developers, whether it's hardware, the key developers of the technology, they are all foreigners. What they bring on the local level is medium or low-end jobs. And they get a lot of time tax exemptions. A lot of time they get a way to return their capital, their gain, outside the continent. So even with that 10 million, if you study well, and there's been a study the World Bank did, most of the investment goes back to where the holding company is, which is 9 out of 10 outside the continent. And then you realize we don't gain anything. There's no knowledge transfer because they're not required to partner with local companies. Ethiopia is trying though. I always respect for countries doing so. So it's a lose-lose for Africa, period. 10 million is gone. No knowledge transfer. No management. Most of the time the board is not even Africans. And we praise those companies not looking at, can it be done on the local level? Can we bring a local company, or can we support African companies to come in? And before I continue, let me define what an African company is for me and what it should be defined. Because we throwing this African company words everywhere now. Just because you're doing business in Africa, you're not an African company. Your board or your leadership management system should be comprised of some African in there to be an African company. Being registered in Africa does not make you an African company, right? Or your holding company, but it's mostly the people at the top should be represented. Africa should be represented. And I say Africa because it's 50 plus countries, so it doesn't matter where they're from, but that's where you make it African companies, right? Or the IP is registered in Africa or owned by an African entity, which is also a big issue that I don't even want to talk about because that's a vlog on its own, right? Where most IP, we the least continent with the registered IPs in the world. And all this narrative that is impacting the youth, they're having a negative impact on the youth because they start believing that, I see so many talents that should be running companies actually end up working for those foreign companies. That's That blows my mind, man. I'm gonna end with this, man. You know, Africa, we are the worst at nurturing talent. Period. I don't care what people say. We are the worst on nurturing talent. We don't focus inward. We always focus outward. We're always looking for others to come in to fix our problem. I see it on the vaccine side. Global warming is going to be the same thing. It's happening now. We're going to be the continent that's going to be the most impacted. And yet we have so much talent on the continent. We have so much young men and women solving a lot of problems in the water sector, energy sector. And all they need is a push, is access to funding. And we need platform, crowd investing platform. We need more investors that take a look at those guys. You know, that where we stop looking outside, looking for solutions. And if we don't change that, then 15, 20 years from now, we're going to be in the same situation where we're just going to be begging for innovation from outside to solve our problem. And a lot of times those innovations are just either too expensive. We have to spend hard-earned capital outside the continent. And the cycle continues. And until we change that mindset, that framework, instead of having a top to bottom approach, we have a bottom up approach. That we look for locals, local innovators, give them access to resources, give them access to tax exemption, give them access to facilities, you know, inject money into their enterprise where they can solve massive problems. I'm going to be doing a vlog in the next few years about the same topic. So let me know what you think about this. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. This is something I'm extremely passionate about, and I truly hope we'll find a solution. Take care.